Well, here it is. 95 weeks ago, we started this thing. 95 weeks ago, we started with the pilot. What was 95 weeks ago? January 17th, 2023. On that day, I set a goal. My most ambitious goal as a YouTube reviewer, to review my favorite television show. The single most important television show of my life, of my career. To be honest, to be straightforward, to give every single episode of this series a once over. 95 weeks ago, I started with the simple pilot. Now, 95 weeks later, we are at the end. And no, don't let it fool you. Episode 95 is a Cartoon Network orchestrated joke, the clip show. One that isn't even worth talking about for more than 2 minutes. Episode 94, Fight to the Finish, is the end of the original run of Code Lyoko. Well, you would think it's the end, but in truth, Code Lyoko has struggled with the word end. In the past 21 years, there have been two canonical continuations, two attempts at a true end, neither being satisfied. And if you know the history of how the animated show ends, Fight to the Finish wasn't even supposed to be the end. It was only supposed to be the season 4 end. In fact, season 5 was greenlit, logo and all. The fans chose the logo colors, black and gold like the Pittsburgh Steelers. A trailer was made showcasing a new sector known as Atlantis. The voice of France Hopper guiding them there, and a new version of the Skid Vladimir. New monsters showcased, and even a year date. But thanks to Cartoon Network corporate meddling, that never came to be. So therein, here is the end. Jeremy's plan to launch a multi-agent system to destroy the replicas is underway, and thanks to France, it looks like it has a chance to succeed. However, William wants in, but the team doesn't trust him, naturally, because for the entire season, they've been getting their ass kicked by him. So, he's left out on the outs, something he's not too big of a fan of. Sissy feels this way and confines and relates. Unfortunately, that plotline doesn't go anywhere. But the main plot actually does. Big battles all throughout the ice sector of Lyoko. One last blitz to the Scipio sector, and the Colossus, the god-forsaken Colossus, one last time tries to impede our heroes. But thanks to France, it doesn't. It is destroyed. The gang makes the passageway to the Scipio sector to launch the final execution code. It succeeds, but at the cost of the ball of light. Yep, Once again, once again, father protects daughter one last time to get the dove. The ultimate dove, it would seem. But, as I mentioned earlier, Code Lyoko has a problem with ending. And even this doesn't feel right. Yes, it feels bittersweet, sad in the moment. But then when you read past the margins and you realize it wasn't, then it induces anger, vitriol, like something was robbed. Even with Xana's dying screams, you don't really buy it. It just exists. It's a void. It is supposed to elicit emotion that the good guys have finally won, but given Code Lyoko's future beyond this episode and its uncertainty on how it wants to end, on one end, the sequel series never really gets started. Mysteries are dropped. Xana's deactivated again. There's a sleeper agent, but that's never taken into account. The books have an ending that is so unsatisfying, the original creators pretty much wiped it from existence in a recent interview. But they also left a glimmer of hope, a glimmer of revival, a glimmer of second chance, a glimmer that this episode that tries to do the impossible, and at least for its episode, ties it up rather nicely with the good guys finally winning. It doesn't feel over. Even when Echoes is over, it doesn't feel over. For the past 21 years, this has been the quandary on the mindset of the Lyoko fan. Nothing ever feels over. There's no finality. Even with the episode title, like Fight to the Finish, in the end, it doesn't feel over. Because Xana just can't just die, right? And given the fact that we've had two canonical continuations to imply that he just doesn't, it's hard to look back at this episode and believe that he does. Given for 21 years, there's always been this lingering thought that he didn't. It wasn't. The story isn't over yet. Like Cody Rhodes losing at WrestleMania 39, something feels off, feels wrong about the whole thing. That we've only gotten merely chapter 4 in a story in a diary that should have gone on much longer. A story yet incomplete. The good guys win, tears are shed, things are bittersweet. And in the end, the episode is the 6 out of 6 that you would expect from finales. A finale forbidding of a fourth season finale. But that's just it. A fourth season finale. It doesn't feel like the end. It hasn't for 21 years, and that's why the specter of the franchise's comeback always lingers, especially now as the topic for AI becoming more increasingly in our lives becomes relevant. This little show from France, born in '04, that mimics The Matrix and other things. Its specter, huh, ironically so, still lingers in animation. It is a once and only once attempt at a 2D and 3D animation hybrid that truly executes. Its characters still resonate, fan art still made, fan fictions, fan virtual forms, everything still made. 21 years later. Why? Because for a lot of us Lyoko warriors, it feels undone. This episode is the main reason why it feels undone. That's it. That's all. That's how one of the greatest villains in fiction dies. Not with a fight, not with a whimper, but with a scream? No. But yet, for this episode, it is done well. Much like most of season 4, actually. Despite it getting a little busy in the middle, it sticks the landing. But the thing is, for 21 years, it hasn't felt like a landing. Fight to the Finish gets a 6 out of 6. And with that, the job is done. A job started because of a podcast. A podcast of three very loyal Lyoko fans getting together on a mic to talk about a silly television show made for France. Podcast that only lasted 8 episodes, that barely saw past the 10th. An episode that in the end only lasted 13, and because of scheduling and personal conflicts. Upon that day, I took it upon myself to do what the podcast could not, to finish the story. Finish the work started by Add Diana with two N's. To finish the work the podcast could not. To tell the story individually of all 94 true episodes. And now, with this, the job is done. But is the story finished? No. There's still a final thoughts of video that I have to record. But also, in that video next week, you'll get my feelings about not only what Code Lyoko means to me, but to me its possible futures. And yes, I said futures with an S. Because I don't believe in one or the other. I believe in a timeline where both things, a reboot and a continuation, exist. Next week, I'm going to explain. For all those that have viewed all 94 videos, I thank you from the bottom. This has been the most emotional project I've ever undertaken for Code Equestria, and I can't believe it's over. I actually pulled it off. 95 videos in 95 weeks. It's hard to believe it's over, or just like I figured out when I first did that first pony video. Is it? I don't think so. So, for one last time for now, I'll see you next week when we close, for now, the book on this show. Because just like Cody Rhodes, I don't believe the story is finished. Do you? Because I think now more than ever, it's time to finish the story. See you next week.